There's a particular kind of desperation that comes from wanting to prove you're fine when you're absolutely not. It's the kind that makes you do reckless things, stupid things, things you'll replay in your mind at 3 in the morning for years to come. Maya Chen knew that desperation intimately. She'd been wearing it like a second skin for 3 months, ever since the man she'd planned a future with decided that future looked better with her yoga instructor. And tonight, at her best friend's gallery opening, surrounded by abstract art she didn't understand, and wine she couldn't afford, that desperation was about to make her do the stupidest thing she'd ever done. If this story resonates with you, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Comment where you're listening from. And if you feel it was worth your time, consider becoming a member for early access to upcoming stories. Your support means everything. The gallery smelled of expensive perfume and pretension, a combination Maya had never quite learned to stomach. She stood near a sculpture that looked like twisted metal having an existential crisis, sipping cheap champagne from a plastic flute and pretending to study the piece with intellectual fascination. In reality, she was watching her ex-boyfriend Marcus across the room, his arm draped possessively around the same yoga instructor who'd taught Maya the importance of breath work and then stolen the breath right out of her lungs. Breathe, Maya told herself. Just breathe. But breathing felt like a luxury she couldn't afford when Marcus kept laughing at something the instructor said. That same laugh he used to save for Maya's jokes, for Maya's observations, for Maya's existence. 3 months, and it still felt like yesterday. 3 months, and she still felt like she was drowning. Emma, her best friend, and the artist whose work lined these pristine white walls, materialized beside her with the kind of timing that suggested she'd been watching Maya watch Marcus for the past 20 minutes. "You're doing that thing again," Emma said softly, not unkindly. "What thing?" Maya asked, taking a larger sip of champagne than was probably wise. "That thing where you torture yourself by staring at someone who doesn't deserve a single second of your attention." Maya wanted to argue, but Emma was right. Emma was always right, which was both her most endearing and most infuriating quality. "He brought her," Maya said instead, her voice small. "To your opening. Like it's nothing. Like I'm nothing." Emma's hand found Maya's shoulder, warm and grounding. "You're not nothing. You're everything. He's just too stupid to see it." But Maya didn't feel like everything. She felt like not enough. Not interesting enough. Not flexible enough. Apparently, yoga instructors had that advantage. Not whatever enough to make someone stay. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, was that Marcus looked happy. He looked like a man who'd traded up, who'd made the right choice, who'd dodged a bullet. "Maya," Emma said carefully, using the tone that meant she was about to suggest something Maya wouldn't like. "Maybe you should leave. Maybe watching him isn't helping." But leaving felt like admitting defeat, like proving that she couldn't handle seeing him happy, that she was still broken while he was already whole. "No," Maya said, straightening her spine with borrowed courage. "I'm fine. I'm completely fine. I'm having a wonderful time appreciating art and sophisticated conversation." Emma raised an eyebrow. "You're drinking $7 champagne from a plastic cup and staring at a man who doesn't deserve you." Before Maya could respond, Marcus looked up. Their eyes met across the gallery, and Maya saw it. That flash of pity mixed with relief. That look that said, "Thank God I got out when I did." Something inside Maya cracked. She'd spent 3 months being the bigger person, being mature, being fine. She'd spent 3 months pretending she didn't care that the man she'd loved had decided she wasn't worth loving back. And in that moment, with his pitying eyes on her and the yoga instructor's perfectly toned arm around his waist, Maya decided she was done being fine. "I need to look like I've moved on," Maya said suddenly. "Like I'm thriving. Like I'm so over him that I've already found someone better. Emma's eyes widened. Maya, don't. I need him to see that I'm not sitting at home crying into ice cream, that I'm desired, that I'm wanted, that someone chose me. You are desired, Emma insisted. You don't need to prove anything to him. But Maya wasn't listening. Her eyes were already scanning the gallery, searching for someone, anyone, who could help her perform this particular theater of moving on. And that's when she saw him. He was standing alone near the back of the gallery, studying one of Emma's paintings with genuine attention rather than performative appreciation. Tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair that looked like he'd run his hands through it too many times, and a jawline that could cut glass. He wore a black suit that fit him like it had been made specifically for his body, and probably had been, though Maya was too desperate to care about details like custom tailoring or what that might mean about his tax bracket. He was beautiful in a way that made her stomach flip. But more importantly, he was alone, and he was in Marcus's direct line of sight. Perfect. Maya didn't think. Thinking would have stopped her, and she was so tired of thinking, of being careful, of being the girl who played it safe, while everyone else played for keeps. She crossed the gallery floor with borrowed confidence, her heels clicking against the polished concrete with each step. The man didn't look up as she approached, too focused on the painting, a swirl of blues and grays that Emma called drowning in air. "Excuse me," Maya said, and her voice came out steadier than she felt. The man turned, and Maya's breath caught. Up close, he was even more striking. Dark, eyes that looked almost black in the gallery lighting, full lips, a slight shadow of stubble along his jaw. But it was his expression that stopped her, a carefully controlled blankness that suggested he was used to being approached, used to being wanted, used to people seeing him as something other than human. "Yes," he said, his voice deep and measured. "Can I help you?" Maya's courage wavered. This was insane. This was the kind of thing that happened in movies, not in real life. Not to girls who worked in marketing firms and had student loans and couldn't tell the difference between expensive wine and cheap champagne. But then she felt Marcus's eyes on her back, and desperation won over sense. "I need you to kiss me," Maya said. The man blinked, the first crack in his controlled expression. "Excuse me?" "My ex-boyfriend is here," Maya continued, words tumbling out faster now. "He's watching. I need him to think I've moved on, that I'm with someone, that I'm fine." "And she gestured vaguely at him. "You're very attractive, and you're standing alone, and I'm desperate. So if you could just please, for like 30 seconds, pretend you want me." The man stared at her. Maya couldn't read his expression, couldn't tell if he thought she was brave or insane, or some combination of both. The silence stretched between them, heavy and horrible, and Maya felt the last of her borrowed courage draining away. "This was a mistake," she said quickly. "I'm sorry. This was stupid. I should go." She turned to leave, to disappear into the crowd and die of embarrassment in private. But his hand caught her wrist. Not hard, not demanding, just enough to stop her. "Wait," he said. Maya turned back, hope and humiliation warring in her chest. The man studied her face for a long moment, and she felt exposed under his gaze, like he could see every desperate, broken part of her. Then, slowly, deliberately, he stepped closer. "If we're going to do this," he said quietly, "we're going to do it right." And before Maya could ask what he meant, his hand slid along her jaw, tilting her face up toward his, and he kissed her. The world stopped. That was Maya's first thought, that somehow this stranger's lips on hers had paused time itself, had made the gallery and the people and Marcus and everything else fade into meaningless background noise. His mouth was warm, firm, and unexpectedly gentle, Not the aggressive performance she'd expected, but something softer, something that felt almost real. His hand cupped her face with a tenderness that made her knees weak, his thumb stroking along her cheekbone in a gesture so intimate, it made her forget this was fake. Forget she'd asked for this. Forget everything, except the way he tasted like whiskey, and something darker, something dangerous. Maya's hands found his chest, feeling the solid muscle beneath expensive fabric, feeling his heart beating steady and sure, while hers raced like it was trying to escape her ribcage. She kissed him back without thinking, without strategy, just pure instinct taking over. His other hand settled on her waist, pulling her closer, and Maya went, letting herself melt into this moment, into this beautiful lie. When he finally pulled back, Maya couldn't breathe. They stood there, foreheads almost touching, his dark eyes searching hers with an intensity that made her feel naked, despite being fully clothed. "Did that work?" he asked quietly, his voice rougher than before. Maya blinked, trying to remember why they'd done this, trying to remember anything beyond the feeling of his mouth on hers. She glanced over her shoulder. Marcus was staring, jaw slack, the yoga instructor looking between Marcus and Maya with obvious confusion. Emma stood nearby, eyes wide as saucers, her expression screaming, "What the hell are you doing?" "Yes," Maya whispered, turning back to the stranger. "It worked." "Good," he said. But he didn't let her go. His hand remained on her waist, his thumb now tracing small circles that sent shivers up her spine. The man's eyes flickered to something behind her, and his jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Is he coming over?" he asked. Maya glanced back. Marcus was indeed weaving through the crowd toward them, his expression confused, and maybe a little jealous. "Oh God," Maya breathed. "What do I do?" The stranger's hand tightened on her waist. "Do you trust me?" "No," Maya said honestly. They'd met 3 minutes ago, but she nodded anyway. He smiled then, just a slight curve of his lips, but it transformed his face from handsome to devastating. "Then follow my lead." Before Maya could ask what that meant, Marcus arrived, positioning himself just close enough to intrude without being obvious about it. "Maya," Marcus said, his voice carrying that false casual tone that meant he was absolutely not casual. "I didn't expect to see you here." His eyes flicked to the stranger, taking in the expensive suit, the possessive hand on Maya's waist, the obvious intimacy between them. "Who's your friend?" The stranger extended his hand before Maya could answer, his expression shifting into something cold and corporate. "Damien Cross." Maya felt her stomach drop. Cross. As in Cross Industries. As in the tech billionaire whose face occasionally appeared in Forbes and Fortune. As in the man whose company had revolutionized cloud computing and made him one of the 30 richest men under 40. As in someone so far out of her league, they weren't even playing the same sport. Marcus's face went pale. He clearly recognized the name, too. "Damien Cross," Marcus repeated, shaking his hand with obvious discomfort. "The Damien Cross." "Is there another?" Damien asked, his tone pleasant but his eyes sharp. Marcus laughed, the sound nervous and strained. "No, of course not. Wow. Maya, you didn't mention you were seeing anyone." "Especially not," he trailed off, eyes darting between them. "Because it's none of your business," Maya said, finding her voice. "Who I see stopped being your concern when you decided to see my yoga instructor." The yoga instructor, who'd followed Marcus over, winced. Damien's thumb resumed those small circles on Maya's waist, a gesture of support that steadied her. Marcus's jaw clenched. "I just think it's interesting timing. 3 months ago you were crying over our relationship, and now you're with—" He gestured vaguely at Damien. "3 months ago I wasted tears on someone who wasn't worth them," Maya shot back. Now I'm with someone who is. She felt Damien's hand tighten briefly, something she couldn't name flickering across his expression. Marcus opened his mouth, clearly ready to argue, but Damien spoke first. I think the lady has made herself clear. His voice was calm, measured, but carried an edge that made Marcus take a step back. Now, if you'll excuse us, I'd like to enjoy the art with my girlfriend. He said girlfriend with such casual possession that even Maya almost believed it. Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, wanted to call them out on whatever this was, but faced with Damien Cross's cold stare and quiet authority, he just nodded. Right. Of course. Sorry to interrupt. He retreated with the yoga instructor in tow, glancing back twice as if unable to believe what he'd just witnessed. The moment they were out of earshot, Maya exhaled shakily. Oh my God. Breathe, Damien said softly, his corporate mask slipping slightly. You did well. I had no idea who you were, Maya said, turning to face him fully. I saw you standing there, and I needed someone, and I didn't. I would never have asked if I'd known. Why? He asked, something unreadable in his expression. Would you have been more intimidated or more interested? Maya's cheeks flushed. Neither. Both. I don't know. People like you don't talk to people like me. People like me, Damien repeated, and there was something bitter in his tone. What does that mean? Rich people, Maya said. Successful people. Billionaires who probably have assistants to keep desperate women from throwing themselves at them in art galleries. Damien's expression shuddered. Right. Of course. He stepped back, his hand falling from her waist, and Maya immediately felt the loss of his warmth. I should, Maya started, uncertain what she should do. Thank you for helping me. You don't need to thank me, Damien said, his tone returning to that controlled politeness. It was, he paused, searching for words. Entertaining. Entertaining. The word felt like a dismissal, like she'd been a momentary amusement for a man who probably had a dozen women more beautiful and sophisticated and worthy of his time waiting in the wings. Right, Maya said, trying to ignore the sting. Well, I'll let you get back to appreciating the art. She turned to leave, to escape before she could embarrass herself further, but his voice stopped her. Maya. She looked back. He was watching her with that same intensity from before, like he was trying to solve a puzzle he didn't quite understand. Your name, he said. You never told me your name. Maya Chen, she said. He nodded slowly, as if committing it to memory. Maya Chen, he repeated, and something about the way he said it, the way her name sounded in his deep voice, made her shiver. I have a proposition for you. Maya's eyebrows rose. Your ex-boyfriend is still watching. In fact, he's been watching since he walked away, probably trying to determine if this is real or performance. Damien stepped closer, crowding into her space again. If you want to really convince him you've moved on, you're going to need more than one kiss. What are you suggesting? Maya asked, her heart starting to race again. I'm suggesting we make this real, Damien said, or at least make it look real. For how long? As long as it takes, until he stops looking at you with pity, until he realizes what he lost, until you stop feeling like you need to prove anything to him. Maya studied his face, trying to read his motivation. Why would you do that? Why would someone like you help someone like me? Damien was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Let's just say I understand what it's like to be underestimated, to have someone decide you're not worth their time, and I think your ex-boyfriend is an idiot. Maya felt tears prick her eyes, unexpected and unwanted. She blinked them back. I don't understand. You don't know me. No, Damien agreed. I don't. But I'd like to. There was something in his voice, something vulnerable beneath the confidence that made Maya wonder what wounds he carried beneath his expensive suit. This is crazy, Maya said. This is a terrible idea. Probably, Damien agreed. But sometimes the terrible ideas are the ones worth taking. He extended his hand, a formal gesture that felt absurdly old-fashioned, given they'd just had their tongues in each other's mouths. So what do you say, Maya Chen? Do you want to make your ex-boyfriend regret every decision that led him to let you go? Maya looked at his outstretched hand. She thought about Marcus's pitying eyes, about 3 months of feeling like she wasn't enough, about the yoga instructor's perfect body and her own imperfect one. She thought about how tired she was of being careful, of being sensible, of being the girl who played it safe. And she thought about how Damien Cross's kiss had made her feel alive for the first time in months. She took his hand. Yes, she said. Let's make him regret everything. Damien's penthouse overlooked the city like a kingdom surveying its domain, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view that made Maya feel like she was floating among the stars. She stood in the entrance, suddenly acutely aware that her Target dress and borrowed confidence were woefully inadequate for this situation. "This is where you live," Maya said, the words coming out more awed than she'd intended. Damien shrugged off his suit jacket, draping it over a chair with casual grace. "When I'm not traveling, it's home." "It's a museum," Maya corrected, taking in the modern furniture that probably cost more than her annual salary, the abstract art on the walls that might have been real Rothkos for all she knew, the grand piano sitting in the corner like a sculpture. "Do you even play?" she asked, gesturing to it. Damien followed her gaze. "I used to. Before things got complicated." He moved to the bar, a sleek marble affair with bottles that looked like they belonged in a collector's vault. Wine, whiskey, something stronger. Maya wanted to say water, wanted to keep her head clear, wanted to maintain some sense of control over this surreal situation. Instead, she said, "Whatever you're having." Damien poured 2 glasses of amber liquid, neat, and handed her one. Their fingers brushed, and Maya felt that same electric charge from the gallery, that same pull she couldn't explain. "To terrible ideas," Damien said, raising his glass. "To making exes regret their life choices," Maya added. They drank. The whiskey burned going down, smooth and expensive, and nothing like the cheap stuff Maya typically drank at dive bars with Emma. "So," Maya said, setting her glass down before liquid courage made her say something stupid. "How does this fake relationship work exactly? Do we have rules, guidelines, a contract?" Damien's lips quirked. "A contract. I run a tech company, not a law firm. But yes, we should probably establish some parameters." He moved to the window, his silhouette backlit by the city lights. Maya joined him, maintaining a careful distance despite the urge to stand closer, to feel his warmth again. "First," Damien said, "we need to be convincing. That means public appearances, dinners, events, places your ex might hear about or see." Maya nodded. "That makes sense." "Second," he continued, turning to face her, "we need to set boundaries. Physical, emotional, practical. This is performance, not reality. We need to remember that." The words should have been reassuring. Instead, they felt like a warning, like he was trying to convince himself as much as her. "What kind of boundaries?" Maya asked. Damien was quiet for a moment. "No falling in love," he said finally. "This is temporary. Finite. When it's done, we walk away clean." Maya felt something twist in her chest, something that felt disappointingly like disappointment. "Of course. I wasn't. I mean, I'm not looking for anything real anyway." "Good," Damien said, but his tone suggested he didn't quite believe her. Because I can't offer you real. I can offer you public appearances, and the appearance of a relationship, and enough convincing performance to make your ex question every decision he's ever made. But real, he paused. Real is not something I do anymore. There was pain in his voice, old and buried deep, the kind of pain Maya recognized because she carried her own version. What happened, Maya asked softly, to make you stop doing real? Damien's jaw tightened. That's not part of our arrangement. We're here to fix your broken heart, not discuss mine. But yours is broken too, Maya said. Isn't it? Damien turned back to the window, effectively ending the conversation. We should discuss logistics. Your ex-boyfriend works in finance, correct? Marketing, Maya corrected. But yes, corporate world. He goes to industry events, networking things, places where people talk. Damien nodded. Then that's where we'll be. Highly visible, extremely convincing. I'll have my assistant add you to my event calendar. You'll need to clear your schedule for the next few weeks. Maya blinked. Weeks? How long were you planning to do this? However long it takes, Damien said, for you to stop looking over your shoulder, for him to realize what he lost, for you to believe you're worth more than someone who chose a yoga instructor over you. No offense to yoga instructors. Maya felt tears threaten again. She was not going to cry in Damien Cross's penthouse. She absolutely was not. Why are you being so nice to me? She asked, her voice smaller than she'd like. You don't even know me. Damien was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Maybe I see something in you. Something that reminds me of who I used to be before I learned to build walls instead of bridges. What do you see? Maya whispered. Damien turned to face her fully, his dark eyes searching hers with that same unnerving intensity. Someone who's been hurt, but hasn't let it make them cruel. Someone who's trying to be brave, even when they're terrified. Someone who kissed a stranger in a gallery because they were desperate to feel like they mattered. Maya's breath caught. I do matter, she said, trying to convince herself as much as him. Yes, Damien agreed, stepping closer. You do, but you don't believe it yet. And until you do, we'll make everyone else believe it for you. He was close now, close enough that Maya could smell his cologne, something dark and cedar and expensive. Close enough that she could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow, the slight gray at his temples that somehow made him more attractive. Close enough to kiss. But Damien didn't kiss her. Instead, he stepped back, creating distance again. You should go home, he said, his voice carefully controlled. It's late. We have our first public appearance tomorrow night, charity gala at the plaza. I'll send a car for you at 7. A car, Maya repeated. Damien, I don't have anything to wear to a gala. I don't even know what a gala is beyond what I've seen in movies. A stylist will come by your apartment tomorrow at 2, Damien said. They'll take care of everything. Dress, shoes, jewelry, hair, makeup. You just need to show up and be yourself. Be myself, Maya laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. Myself doesn't belong in rooms with people like you. People like me, Damien repeated, and there was that bitterness again. You keep saying that, like money makes me a different species. Doesn't it? Maya challenged. You live in a penthouse overlooking Central Park. I live in a walk-up in Astoria, with a radiator that sounds like it's dying. You drink whiskey that probably costs more than my monthly rent. We're from different worlds. Damien studied her face. Maybe. But we're both human. We both bleed. We both hurt. And we're both standing here trying to pretend we're not terrified of what we're about to do. Maya felt something shift between them, something vulnerable and raw. What are you terrified of? She asked. Damien's expression shuddered. The same thing you are. that this performance becomes something we can't control. He moved toward the door, clearly ending the conversation. My driver will take you home. Tomorrow night, 7 sharp. Be ready. Maya nodded, gathering her purse, her head spinning from whiskey and wealth, and the way Damien looked at her, like he could see straight through to her soul. At the door, she paused. Damien. He looked back. Thank you. For tonight. For helping me. Damien's expression softened slightly. You already thanked me. I know, Maya said, but I mean it. You didn't have to do this. You could have told me to go away when I asked you to kiss me. You could have said no. But instead, she trailed off, unsure how to finish. Instead, what? Damien prompted. Instead, you made me feel like I was worth something, Maya said quietly. Even if it was just for a moment. Even if it was just pretend. Damien was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, It wasn't pretend. Not entirely. And before Maya could ask what he meant, he opened the door, called for his driver, and effectively sent her away into the night, with more questions than answers. The stylist arrived at Maya's apartment at exactly 2 o'clock, along with 3 assistants, a clothing rack filled with designer gowns, and enough makeup to supply a Broadway production. Maya stood in her tiny living room, watching them transform her cramped space into a temporary salon, and wondered what alternate universe she'd stumbled into. Damien said to make you perfect, the stylist, whose name was Andre, announced. But between you and me, darling, you're already perfect. We're just going to make everyone else realize it. Maya wasn't sure she believed him, but she let them work anyway. 3 hours later, she stood in front of her full-length mirror and didn't recognize herself. The dress was midnight blue, almost black, with a neckline that plunged just low enough to be daring without being inappropriate. It hugged her curves like it had been made for her body specifically, which Andre assured her it had been. Damien had sent her measurements, and his favorite designer had worked through the night. Her hair fell in loose waves over one shoulder. Her makeup was subtle but transformative, and the diamonds at her ears and throat were, according to Andre, on loan from Harry Winston, and worth more than her apartment building. You look like you belong, Andre said softly, meeting her eyes in the mirror. Like you were always meant to stand beside someone like him. But I don't belong, Maya whispered. This isn't my world. Andre smiled. Maybe not yet. But worlds can change. People can grow into spaces they never imagined fitting. And sometimes, the person we become is the person we were always meant to be. The car arrived at 7 sharp, a sleek black Mercedes that looked like it cost more than Maya's college education. The driver, an older man named James, who spoke with a gentle British accent, opened her door and treated her with a respect that made her uncomfortable because she wasn't used to being treated like she mattered. Miss Chen, James said as they pulled into traffic. Mr. Cross asked me to tell you that you look beautiful tonight. He saw me, Maya asked, confused. James smiled in the rearview mirror. He always sees more than people think. The plaza was everything Maya had imagined, and more. Glittering chandeliers, marble floors, people who looked like they'd stepped out of magazines. She felt her courage wavering as they approached the entrance, her borrowed confidence threatening to desert her entirely. Then she saw Damien. He stood near the entrance in a black tuxedo that made him look like he'd been carved from midnight and starlight. His dark eyes found hers immediately, and something in his expression softened, just slightly, just enough to make her breathe again. Maya, he said as she approached, and the way he said her name felt like a prayer. You look, he paused, searching for words. Stunning doesn't cover it. You look like you were made for this. I feel like I'm playing dress-up, Maya admitted quietly. Like any second, someone's going to realize I don't belong here and ask me to leave. Damien offered his arm. Then we'll make sure no one realizes. Stay close to me. Follow my lead. And remember, you have just as much right to be here as anyone else in that room." Maya took his arm, feeling the solid muscle beneath expensive fabric, and let him lead her inside. The gala was overwhelming, a crush of wealth and power, and people who looked like they were born knowing which fork to use. Maya recognized faces from magazines, from news articles, from the kind of life she'd only ever observed from a distance. Damien navigated it all with practiced ease, his hand at the small of her back, his presence a constant anchor. He introduced her as my girlfriend Maya with such casual possession that people believed it without question. She met CEOs and philanthropists, artists and politicians, and Damien made sure she felt included in every conversation, his subtle touches and protective presence, making it clear she belonged at his side. "You're good at this," Maya whispered during a brief moment of privacy. "At what?" Damien asked. "Making me feel like I'm not drowning." Damien's expression flickered with something she couldn't name. "Maybe because I know what drowning feels like." They were interrupted by a woman's voice, sharp and familiar, in a way that made Damien's entire body tense. "Damien." "Darling, I didn't expect to see you here." Maya turned to see a woman approaching, blonde and beautiful, and polished to a degree that felt almost artificial. She wore a red dress that probably cost more than Maya's car, and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Vanessa," Damien said, his voice carefully neutral. Maya felt him pull her closer, almost protectively. The woman, Vanessa, looked Maya up and down with an expression that managed to be both dismissive and assessing. "And who's this?" "This is Maya Chen," Damien said. "My girlfriend." Vanessa's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. "Girlfriend? How? Unexpected. You haven't dated anyone since." She trailed off meaningfully. "Things change," Damien said shortly. "People move on." Vanessa's smile sharpened. "Yes, they do. Don't they?" She turned her attention to Maya. "So tell me, Maya, how did you and Damien meet? It must be quite a story." "At an art gallery," Maya said, finding her voice. "I needed help with something, and Damien was kind enough to assist." "How romantic," Vanessa said, the word dripping with sarcasm. "Damien's always been good at playing the hero, hasn't he?" There was history here, Maya realized, deep and painful and unresolved. This was the wound Damien carried, the reason he'd said he didn't do real anymore. Vanessa was the woman who'd broken him. "If you'll excuse us," Damien said, his hand tightening on Maya's waist. "We were just leaving." "Oh, don't run off on my account," Vanessa said. "I'm sure your girlfriend would love to hear about our history, about how you were going to propose before you found out about." "Vanessa," Damien's voice held a warning. "About how he found out I was only with him for his money," Vanessa continued, ignoring him. "About how I was sleeping with his business partner while planning our wedding. About how I told him he was too intense, too demanding, too much in every possible way." Maya felt Damien go rigid beside her. She didn't think, didn't calculate. She just turned to face Vanessa fully and said, "Then you were an idiot." Vanessa blinked. "Excuse me." "You had someone who was passionate and intense and willing to give you everything," Maya continued, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "And you threw it away for money and shallow connections. That doesn't make him too much. That makes you too small." Vanessa's face flushed. "You have no idea what you're talking about." "I know enough," Maya said. "I know that Damien is kind and protective and sees people for who they really are. And I know that you lost something precious because you couldn't recognize its value. That's not being too much. That's you not being enough." Vanessa opened her mouth, closed it, then turned on her heel and stalked away, her red dress a slash of color disappearing into the crowd. Maya's heart pounded, adrenaline making her hands shake. She'd just confronted a woman who probably had more money and power and connections than Maya could imagine. She'd just defended a man she barely knew. She'd just made a scene at a gala where everyone probably knew everyone. Oh God, Maya breathed. Did I just do that? Damien was staring at her, his expression unreadable. Yes, he said finally. You did. I'm sorry, Maya said quickly. I shouldn't have. She was just saying all those things, and you looked so hurt and I couldn't. Damien pulled her close, his forehead dropping to rest against hers. No one's ever defended me before. Maya's breath caught. What? Everyone always believes her version, Damien said quietly. That I was too intense, too demanding, that I drove her away. No one ever asks why I was intense, why I demanded loyalty and honesty. No one ever considers that maybe she was the problem, not me. You weren't the problem, Maya said fiercely. She was. She threw away something real for something fake, and that's on her, not you. Damien pulled back slightly, his dark eyes searching hers. Why did you do that? Defend me. You barely know me. Maya wasn't sure how to answer. Because you defended me first, she said finally. Because you made me feel like I was worth something when I felt like nothing. Because someone needed to tell her the truth. And because, she hesitated. Because what? Because I hate people who make others feel like they're too much, Maya said quietly. Like they need to be smaller, quieter, less to be lovable. Because I've felt that way my whole life, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. Especially not someone who's been nothing but kind to me. They left the gala shortly after, neither of them interested in staying after Vanessa's appearance. James drove them through the city streets in comfortable silence, Maya's hand somehow finding Damien's in the darkness of the back seat, their fingers intertwining like it was the most natural thing in the world. I should take you home, Damien said, but he didn't sound convinced. You should, Maya agreed, but she didn't pull her hand away. Instead, James drove them back to Damien's penthouse. Maya told herself it was because she needed to decompress, needed to process what had happened, needed to understand why defending a near stranger had felt so essential. But the truth was simpler and more complicated. She wasn't ready to leave him. The penthouse was dark when they entered, city lights providing the only illumination. Damien loosened his tie, poured them both whiskey, and they stood at the window like they had the night before, looking out at a city that never slept. Tell me about her, Maya said softly. About what happened. Damien was quiet for so long Maya thought he wouldn't answer. Then he started talking, his voice low and rough with old pain. I met Vanessa 4 years ago at a tech conference. She was beautiful, charming, everything I thought I wanted. We dated for 2 years. I proposed on a beach in Santorini at sunset. He took a long drink. She said yes. We started planning the wedding. Big affair, 300 guests, the works. And then my business partner, someone I'd known since college, someone I trusted, came to me and told me they'd been sleeping together for months, that she'd been using me for my connections, my money, my status, that she never loved me, just what I could give her. Maya's chest ached for him. Damien. The worst part wasn't the betrayal, Damien continued. It was what she said when I confronted her, that I was too intense, that I wanted too much from people, too much honesty, too much loyalty, too much emotional presence. She said I was exhausting to love, that no one could possibly live up to my expectations, that I needed to learn to accept that people are imperfect. But Maya, he turned to face her. I wasn't asking for perfection. I was just asking for honesty, for faithfulness, for the basic respect of not sleeping with my best friend while planning our wedding. Is that really too much to ask? No, Maya said firmly. That's not too much. That's the bare minimum. Damien's laugh was bitter. Try telling that to everyone who believed her version, who looked at me like I was the problem, like I was too demanding, too controlling. I lost friends, lost business connections, lost the ability to trust anyone who got close. Maya set down her glass and moved closer. I know what it's like to feel like you're too much. My whole life, I've been told I'm too emotional, too sensitive, too invested. Marcus used to say I cared too much about things that didn't matter, that I needed to learn to be more chill, more easygoing, more like the yoga instructor, apparently. You're not too much, Damien said. Neither are you, Maya replied. We're just waiting for people who can handle all of us. They stood there in the darkness, the space between them charged with something neither wanted to name. Then Damien said, "This fake relationship is getting complicated." "It's only been 2 days, Maya pointed out. "Imagine 2 weeks, 2 months. Damien stepped closer. "Maya, I need to be honest with you about something." "Okay," Maya whispered, her heart racing. "When you kissed me in that gallery," Damien said slowly, "it wasn't entirely fake for me." Maya's breath caught. "What?" "I know you needed someone to make your ex jealous," Damien continued, "and I know we agreed this is performance, not reality. But when I kissed you, when I felt you kiss me back, it felt real. More real than anything I've felt in years." Maya's mind raced. This was supposed to be fake, safe, temporary. They had rules, boundaries, agreements about not falling. But standing here in the dark with Damien looking at her like she was something precious, Maya realized she'd been lying to herself. It had felt real to her, too. "I don't know what to do with that information," Maya admitted. "Neither do I," Damien said. "Which is why I'm telling you now, before this goes any further. We need to decide, are we keeping this fake? Or are we brave enough to see what happens if we let it be real?" "Real is terrifying," Maya said. "Real is how we get hurt." "We're already hurt," Damien pointed out. "Maybe real is how we heal." Maya thought about Marcus, about 3 months of feeling like she wasn't enough. She thought about Damien's ex, about years of him believing he was too much. She thought about 2 broken people standing in a penthouse, trying to decide if they were brave enough to risk breaking again. "I have rules," Maya said finally. "If we do this, if we try real." Damien nodded. "Tell me." "No lies," Maya said. "Ever. Even if the truth is hard. Even if it hurts. I need honesty." "I can do that," Damien said. "What else? If it's not working, if one of us wants out, we say so immediately," Maya continued. "No dragging it out, no making each other miserable trying to force something that's broken." "Agreed," Damien said. "Anything else?" Maya took a breath. "Don't make me feel like I'm too much. Don't make me smaller to make yourself comfortable. I spent too long trying to fit into spaces that weren't made for me. I won't do it again." Damien's hand found her face, cupping her jaw with a gentleness that made her eyes sting. "Maya Chen, you could never be too much. You're exactly the right amount of everything. And I don't want you smaller. I want you exactly as you are, taking up all the space you need, being as big and bright and emotional as you want to be." Maya felt tears slip down her cheeks. "Your turn. Tell me your rules." Damien was quiet for a moment. "Don't stay with me because of what I can give you," he said finally. "Not my money, not my connections, not the life I can provide. If you're with me, I need it to be because you want me, not what I have." "I don't care about your money," Maya said honestly. "I didn't even know who you were when I asked you to kiss me." "I know," Damien said. "That's why I said yes." His thumb wiped away her tears. "That's why this feels different. Because you looked at me and saw a person, not a bank account." "What else?" Maya prompted. "Be patient with me," Damien said. "I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to be too intense sometimes, too protective, too demanding of honesty because I'm terrified of being lied to again. I'm going to need reassurance more than is probably reasonable. And I'm going to struggle with trust, because the last time I trusted someone completely, they destroyed me." Maya covered his hand with hers. "I can be patient. I can give reassurance. And I'll earn your trust, one day at a time, for as long as it takes." Damien's eyes searched hers. "You're remarkable. You know that. I'm just someone who got kissed by a billionaire and decided to see where it goes," Maya said. Damien smiled, real and warm and devastating. "That makes you remarkable." They stood there, hands intertwined, barriers crumbling. "So," Maya said finally, "are we doing this? Are we trying real?" Damien's response was to kiss her, not like in the gallery, not performative or strategic. This kiss was honest, vulnerable, real. His hands cradled her face like she was something precious, and Maya kissed him back with everything she had. 3 months of loneliness and pain transforming into something bright and hopeful. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Damien rested his forehead against hers. "Real is terrifying," he whispered. "Real is worth it," Maya countered. They moved to the couch, sitting close, Maya's head on Damien's shoulder, as they talked about everything and nothing, about childhoods and dreams, about fears and failures, about the paths that had led them both to that art gallery, where a desperate woman had asked a stranger for a kiss and accidentally found something neither expected. The city lights glittered outside, and for the first time in months, Maya felt like she was exactly where she belonged. 3 weeks passed in a blur of public appearances and private moments, of learning each other's rhythms and discovering that real was both harder and better than either had imagined. Maya met Damien's world, the board meetings and business dinners, the charity events and corporate gatherings, and slowly stopped feeling like an imposter. Damien met Maya's world, her cramped apartment that he claimed had more warmth than his entire penthouse, her best friend Emma, who interrogated him with the protective fierceness of a sister, her favorite dive bar where they served cheap beer and the bartender knew everyone's name. They learned to navigate the space between their different realities, finding common ground in unexpected places. Damien loved that Maya brought takeout containers to his penthouse and insisted on eating on the couch instead of the formal dining table. Maya loved that Damien remembered small details, her coffee order, the way she twisted her hair when she was nervous, the fact that she hummed off-key when she was happy. Marcus saw them together twice more. Once at a restaurant where Damien held Maya's hand across the table and looked at her like she'd hung the stars. Once at an industry event where Maya wore a dress Damien had chosen and laughed at something he whispered in her ear, her joy so genuine that Marcus's face had gone pale. Emma reported that Marcus had been asking about them, trying to figure out if it was real, struggling to understand how Maya had moved on so completely. "He can't believe someone like Damien would want you," Emma said over coffee one afternoon. "He keeps saying there must be an angle, that billionaires don't date normal girls without reason." Maya felt the old insecurities stir. Maybe he's right. Maybe this is crazy. Emma grabbed her hand. "Maya, the way that man looks at you, it's not fake. I don't care how it started. What I see when you're together, that's real." But was it? Maya couldn't always tell where performance ended and reality began. Damien was affectionate in public, attentive and possessive, in all the ways that made her stomach flutter. But in private, he maintained careful distance. They kissed, yes. They held each other. Yes. But Damien never pushed for more, never suggested they take their physical relationship beyond heated kisses and tangled embraces on his couch. Maya told herself she appreciated his respect, his patience. But late at night, alone in her apartment. She wondered if maybe he was holding back because some part of him still didn't trust this, didn't trust her, didn't believe she could want him for reasons beyond his wealth. The breaking point came on a Friday night, 4 weeks after the gallery kiss. They were at Damien's penthouse, Maya wearing one of his shirts and nothing else, her legs curled under her on his couch as they watched a movie neither was paying attention to. Damien's hand traced patterns on her bare thigh, his touch sending shivers through her entire body. She'd spent the evening hyper-aware of every point of contact, of the way his breath caught when she shifted closer, of the tension coiling tighter and tighter between them. Maya couldn't take it anymore. She turned to him, straddling his lap in one fluid motion, her hands finding his face. His dark eyes widened slightly, desire and surprise, and something like fear flickering across his expression. "Maya," he started. "No," Maya said. "We need to talk about this, about what's happening between us, what we're doing, what we're not doing." Damien's hand settled on her waist, his grip almost bruising. "We're taking things slow." "Why?" Maya challenged. "Because you respect me, or because you don't trust this?" Damien's jaw tightened. "Both." Maya felt something in her chest crack. "You still think I'm like her? Like Vanessa? That I'm here for what you can give me?" "I don't think that," Damien said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Then why won't you touch me?" Maya asked, vulnerability making her voice shake. "Why do you pull back every time things get intense? Why do you keep this wall between us?" "I'm protecting you," Damien said. "From what?" "From me," he said roughly. "From the way I want you. From the intensity that Vanessa said was too much, that drove her away. I don't want to do that to you." Maya cupped his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. "Damien Cross, listen to me very carefully. I am not Vanessa. I am not going to run because you want me intensely. I'm not going to use you and throw you away. And I'm so tired of you treating me like I'm fragile, like I can't handle all of you." His hands tightened on her waist. "You don't understand what you're asking for." "Then show me," Maya challenged. "Stop holding back. Stop protecting me from something I want. Show me the intensity that supposedly drove her away. Let me decide if it's too much." Damien's control was visibly fraying. "Maya, if I let go, if I stop holding back, I don't know if I can be gentle." "I don't want gentle," Maya said. "I want real. I want you, without walls, without fear. I want everything you've been holding back because you're terrified I'll reject you." Something in Damien broke. He stood abruptly, carrying Maya with him, her legs wrapping around his waist instinctively. He kissed her hard, no longer careful, no longer controlled, and Maya kissed him back with equal intensity, her fingers tangling in his hair, her body pressing against his. "This is your last chance to stop this, Damien," said against her lips. "To change your mind, to walk away." "I'm not walking away," Maya said fiercely. "I'm choosing you. Choosing this. Choosing us." Damien carried her to his bedroom, and for the first time since they'd met, there were no walls, no performance, no fear. Just two people finally brave enough to be completely honest about what they wanted. Hours later, Maya lay in Damien's arms, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat slow. His fingers traced patterns on her back, his touch gentle now but no less possessive. "I was terrified," Damien admitted quietly into the darkness, "that if I showed you how much I wanted you, how intensely I feel everything, you'd realize it was too much, that you'd leave like she did." Maya propped herself up on her elbow, looking down at him. "What Vanessa called too much, I call exactly enough. What she found exhausting, I find exhilarating." "You're not too intense, Damien. You're just finally with someone who can match your intensity." Damien's hand found her face. "How are you real? How did I get this lucky?" You kissed a stranger in an art gallery, Maya reminded him, and accidentally found someone who sees you. Damien pulled her down for a kiss, slow and deep and full of promise. I'm going to mess this up, he warned. I'm going to be possessive and demanding and need constant reassurance that you're here for me, not what I have. Good, Maya said against his lips, because I'm going to be emotional and need words of affirmation and probably cry during romantic movies and want to talk about my feelings more than is socially acceptable. Damien smiled, real and unguarded. I can handle that. They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time in years, Damien didn't have nightmares about betrayal. For the first time in months, Maya didn't wake up feeling like she wasn't enough. But peace never lasts forever. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. Maya was at work, reviewing marketing campaigns, when Emma called with panic in her voice. You need to see this, Emma said. There's an article. Maya's stomach dropped. What kind of article? The kind that tears people apart. Maya pulled up the gossip site Emma named, and her blood went cold. The headline read, Billionaire's New Girlfriend, Gold Digger or Genuine? The article was vicious. It detailed Maya's background, her middle-class upbringing, her student loans, her modest job. It contrasted her life with Damien's wealth, questioning what a marketing associate could possibly offer a billionaire beyond the obvious. It included quotes from anonymous sources suggesting Maya had targeted Damien deliberately, that she'd researched him before approaching at the gallery, that the entire relationship was calculated. And there, in the middle of the article, was a quote from Vanessa. I'm not surprised, she'd said. Damien is vulnerable to women who know how to play the victim. He wants to be the hero so badly that he can't see when he's being used. I hope for his sake this one is different, but history suggests otherwise. Maya felt sick. Her phone rang, Damien's name on the screen. She almost didn't answer. Did you see it? Damien asked without preamble. Yes, Maya whispered. Damien, I didn't. I would never. I know, he said immediately. Maya, I know. You believe me? Maya asked, tears spilling down her cheeks. Without question, without hesitation. This is what Vanessa does. She plants doubt. But I know you. I know this is real. Come to the penthouse, he said. Now, let me see you. Please. Maya left work early, took a car to Damien's building, her mind racing with fear. What if people believed the article? What if Damien's business partners started questioning his judgment? What if she ruined everything he'd built? Damien met her at the door, pulling her into his arms before she could speak. He held her while she cried, while she apologized for things that weren't her fault, while she offered to walk away to protect him. No, Damien said firmly. Absolutely not. You're not leaving. You're not running because some bitter woman wrote lies about you. We fight this together. How? Maya asked. How do we fight this? By living our lives, Damien said. By being exactly who we are. By not letting fear make us smaller. He tilted her face up. Maya, I spent years being afraid. Afraid to trust. Afraid to feel. Afraid to let anyone close. You made me brave enough to try again. I'm not losing that because of lies. But what if people believe them? Maya said. What if they look at us and only see the money, the gap between our worlds? Then they're not looking close enough, Damien said. And their opinions don't matter. The only opinions that matter are yours and mine. Do you believe we're real? Yes, Maya whispered. Then that's enough, Damien said. That has to be enough. They spent the evening planning a response, not to defend themselves, but to show the world who they really were. Damien suggested a joint interview with a reputable journalist, a chance to tell their story honestly. Maya agreed, though the thought terrified her. The interview happened 3 days later. The journalist, a woman named Catherine with kind eyes, and a reputation for fairness, met them at Damien's penthouse. She asked hard questions about how they met, about the wealth gap, about whether Maya had known who Damien was when she approached him. Maya answered honestly, describing her desperation that night, her broken heart, her impulsive decision to kiss a stranger. She talked about not knowing Damien was a billionaire, about being shocked and overwhelmed when she found out. She described falling for him despite his wealth, not because of it. Damien talked about Vanessa's betrayal, about spending years afraid to trust, about seeing something genuine in Maya that made him willing to risk his heart again. He described Maya's defense of him at the gala, the way she saw him as a person rather than a bank account. "What do you love about Maya?" Catherine asked Damien. "Everything," Damien said without hesitation. "Her compassion, her emotional honesty, the way she makes me laugh, the way she calls me out when I'm being too intense or overthinking, the way she brings takeout to a penthouse and insists we eat on the couch, the way she makes me feel like I'm enough, exactly as I am." "And Maya," Catherine turned to her, "what do you love about Damien?" "His kindness," Maya said. "The way he sees people. The way he remembered my coffee order after one time. The way he makes me feel safe enough to be vulnerable. The way he doesn't ask me to be smaller or quieter or less emotional. The way he looks at me like I'm precious." Catherine smiled. "You two are either very good actors or genuinely in love." "Which is it?" Maya looked at Damien, saw the same vulnerability in his eyes that she felt in her chest. "We're genuinely in love," Maya said. "I didn't expect it. I didn't plan it. But somewhere between a desperate kiss in a gallery and now, I fell completely in love with him." Damien's hand found hers, and I fell completely in love with her. Despite my fears, despite my walls, despite every reason I had to protect myself, she made me believe in second chances. The interview published a week later. The response was overwhelming. Some people remained skeptical, but many more expressed support. Comments flooded in from people who related to Maya's insecurity, to Damien's betrayal, to the idea that love could be found in unexpected moments. Vanessa remained silent. Emma called crying happy tears. Even Marcus, according to mutual friends, had admitted that Maya and Damien seemed genuinely happy together. But the best response came from Damien's mother, who called and asked to meet Maya. Lunch happened on a Sunday. Damien's mother, Eleanor, was elegant and warm and terrifyingly perceptive. She asked Maya about her family, her work, her hopes for the future. Then she said, "My son has been broken for 4 years. I've watched him build walls so high I worried he'd never let anyone climb them. But you somehow found a way over." Maya shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't do anything special." "You loved him," Eleanor said simply, honestly, without agenda. "That's the most special thing anyone can do." She reached across the table, taking Maya's hand. "Thank you for giving him back to me, for making him laugh again, for making him believe he deserves happiness." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "He deserves everything." "Yes," Eleanor agreed, "and it seems he found it." That evening, back at the penthouse, Damien pulled Maya close. "My mother loves you," he said. "I could tell." "Does that scare you?" Damien asked. "That this is becoming more real, more permanent? That we're building something that includes families and futures?" Maya thought about it. 3 months ago, permanent would have terrified her. Now it felt like promise. "No," she said. "It doesn't scare me." "Good," Damien said, "because I'm not letting you go. Ever." "You sound very sure of that," Maya teased. "I am, Damien," said seriously. "Maya Chen, you walked into my life by accident and changed everything. You made me believe in trust again, in love again, in myself again. You're the best terrible idea I've ever had." Maya laughed. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. Damien grinned. I can do better. He got down on one knee. Maya's breath stopped. Damien, what are you? I know it's only been 2 months, Damien said. I know people will say it's too fast, too intense, too impulsive. But Maya, I've spent 4 years being careful, being cautious, protecting myself. And in 2 months with you, I've felt more alive than in all those years combined. He pulled a small box from his pocket. I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow. I'm asking if you'll consider a future where tomorrow becomes every day, where we build something real and permanent and big enough for both of us. Will you marry me? Eventually, when you're ready, when it feels right, but with the understanding that I'm absolutely certain you're the person I want to spend my life with. Maya dropped to her knees in front of him, tears streaming down her face. Yes, she said. Yes to eventually. Yes to futures and tomorrows and building something big. Yes to you, to us, to this beautiful unexpected thing we found. Damien slid the ring onto her finger, then kissed her with a passion that made the world disappear. 6 months later, Maya stood in Damien's penthouse, now their penthouse, watching the sunset paint the city in shades of gold and pink. She'd moved in 3 months ago, bringing her chaos and her books and her tendency to leave coffee cups on every surface. Damien claimed he loved the mess, that it made the space feel like a home instead of a museum. They'd found their rhythm, their balance between his intensity and her emotional honesty. They fought sometimes, about stupid things, like whose turn it was to choose what to watch, about important things like boundaries and communication. But they fought fair, with honesty and respect, and they always came back together stronger. Emma had become Damien's friend too, her initial protective skepticism transforming into genuine affection. She still threatened to hurt him if he ever made Maya cry, but now she did it with humor instead of venom. Damien's mother visited regularly, and Maya's parents had flown in to meet the man who'd captured their daughter's heart. The meeting had been terrifying and wonderful, her parents overwhelmed by Damien's wealth, but charmed by his genuine love for their daughter. Maya had returned to school, using Damien's resources not for luxury, but for education, pursuing a master's degree in arts administration. Damien supported her without making her feel indebted, understanding that she needed to build her own success, not just bask in his. The engagement ring sat on her finger, a daily reminder of promises and futures. They'd set a date for the following spring, something small and intimate, just family and close friends. Emma would be maid of honor. Damien's business partner, the one who'd told him about Vanessa's betrayal and stayed loyal through everything, would be best man. But today was special for a different reason. Today marked exactly 1 year since Maya had walked into that art gallery, desperate and broken, and kissed a stranger. Damien had planned something, refusing to tell Maya what, just asking her to be ready by 6. She wore a simple blue dress, the same color as the one she'd worn that first night at the plaza, her hair loose the way Damien loved it. When he emerged from the bedroom in dark jeans and a white shirt, casual but devastating, Maya's heart still fluttered. Will it always be like this? She asked. This feeling when you walk into a room. I hope so, Damien said, crossing to her, because I still feel it every time I see you. He took her hand. Ready? For what? Maya asked. You'll see. The car, James driving with his usual discretion, took them through the city as the sun set. Maya tried to guess their destination, but Damien just smiled mysteriously. When they pulled up to the art gallery where they'd met, Maya's breath caught. Damien. Trust me, he said, leading her inside. The gallery was closed, empty except for them. Emma's art still hung on the walls, though a year later her career had exploded, her work now in demand across the country. Damien led Maya to the exact spot where she'd first approached him, where desperation and chance had collided into something neither expected. "This is where you changed my life," Damien said softly. "This is where a brave, broken woman asked a stranger for help and accidentally saved him." "I wasn't trying to save you," Maya said. "I was trying to save myself." "You did both," Damien said. He pulled something from his pocket, a small leather journal. "I want to read you something." He opened it, and Maya realized it was full of his handwriting. "I started writing this the day after we met," Damien said. "Just thoughts, observations, feelings I was too afraid to say out loud." He cleared his throat and began reading. Day 1. A woman kissed me today. Not for love, not for desire, but for desperation. And somehow, in that desperate kiss, I felt more alive than I have in years. There's something about her, something genuine and raw and utterly without pretense. She didn't know who I was, didn't want anything from me except a moment of performance. And in giving her that, I found something I'd stopped looking for. Hope. He turned the page. Day 15. Maya laughs with her whole body. She throws her head back, and the sound fills every empty corner of my life. I'm terrified of how much I want to hear that sound every day for the rest of my life. Day 30. She defended me today. Stood up to Vanessa without hesitation, without fear. No one's ever done that before. Everyone always believed Vanessa's version, that I was too much. But Maya looked at me and said I wasn't the problem. How do you walk away from someone who sees you that clearly? Another page. Day 50. I'm in love with her. I know it's too fast. I know people will judge. But I'm done being careful, done protecting myself from feeling. Maya makes me want to risk everything. And I think, maybe, she's worth the risk. Maya was crying now, tears streaming down her face, as Damien continued reading entries that detailed their journey, his fears and hopes, and growing certainty that she was his forever. The final entry was from that morning, day 365. 1 year ago, Maya Chen walked into this gallery and asked me to kiss her. She was trying to make her ex-boyfriend jealous. I was trying to survive another lonely evening. Neither of us was looking for love. But love found us anyway. In 1 year, she's taught me what it means to trust again, to be vulnerable again, to believe that someone can love me, not despite my intensity, but because of it. She's shown me that being too much is only a problem when you're with someone too small. And Maya Chen is anything but small. She's vast and bright and brave enough to love me completely. Damien closed the journal. So today, on the anniversary of the day you changed my life, I wanted to bring you back here, to this spot, to remind us both how far we've come. Maya threw her arms around his neck, sobbing into his shoulder. I love you, she said. I love you so much it terrifies me. Good, Damien said, holding her close. Terror means it matters. They stood there for a long moment, wrapped in each other in the exact spot where everything had begun. Then Damien pulled back slightly. There's one more thing. He gestured to the wall behind them. Maya turned and saw it. A new painting hanging where Drowning in Air had been a year ago. This one was different, brighter, full of warm golds and soft blues. Emma had titled it, Breathing Again. She painted it for us, Damien explained, to commemorate what started here. Maya stared at the painting, seeing two figures intertwined, seeing the transition from darkness to light, seeing the visual representation of their journey from broken to whole. It's perfect, Maya whispered. You're perfect, Damien corrected. We're perfect together. They left the gallery hand in hand, stepping into the cool evening air. The city stretched before them, full of possibility and promise. Marcus was somewhere in that city, probably still wondering how Maya had moved on so completely, probably still unable to understand what a billionaire saw in an ordinary girl. But Maya didn't think about him anymore. She'd stopped needing his validation, stopped measuring her worth by his rejection. She'd found something better than revenge, than proving she was fine. She'd found someone who made her believe she was extraordinary. As they drove home through streets now familiar, Maya thought about the girl she'd been a year ago. Desperate, broken, willing to kiss a stranger just to feel like she mattered. That girl had been brave without knowing it, had taken a risk that would change everything. "Thank you," Maya said suddenly. Damien glanced at her. "For what?" "For saying yes," Maya said. "When I asked you to kiss me, you could have said no. You could have walked away. But you said yes, and you changed my life." Damien raised her hand to his lips. "Best decision I ever made." They spent the evening on their couch, Maya in Damien's arms, talking about their future, about the wedding next spring, about maybe buying a house outside the city, somewhere with a yard and room to grow, about children eventually, if they wanted them, about growing old together, about building a life so full of love that the loneliness they'd both carried became a distant memory. As the city lights glittered outside and Damien's heartbeat steady beneath her ear, Maya thought about different kinds of love. There was the love she'd had with Marcus, small and conditional and contingent on her being less than she was. And then there was this love with Damien, vast and unconditional, and demanding she be exactly who she was. The truth Maya had learned in the past year was simple, but profound. She'd spent so long believing she was too much, too emotional, too intense, too invested. And Marcus had confirmed those fears, making her feel like her bigness was a flaw that needed correction. But Damien showed her something different, that being too much wasn't a problem when you found someone big enough to love all of you. That intensity wasn't exhausting when matched with equal passion, that the parts of herself she'd tried to minimize were actually the parts that made her extraordinary. And maybe that's what everyone needs to learn, that we're not too much or too little or wrong in some fundamental way. We're just waiting to find people whose hearts are vast enough to hold us completely. Maya had kissed the wrong man that night in the gallery, at least according to her plan. She'd wanted to make Marcus jealous, wanted to prove she'd moved on. But in kissing the wrong man, she'd found the right one. The billionaire who wouldn't let her go, not because he was possessive or controlling, but because he recognized something precious when he found it. And she wouldn't let him go either. This wounded man who'd taught her that second chances were worth the risk, that love could be found in desperate moments, that sometimes the best things in life come from the mistakes we make when we're brave enough to try. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Comment where you're listening from, and if you felt it was worth your time, consider becoming a member for early access to upcoming stories. And if this story truly resonated with you, click the Super Thanks button. Your support helps us continue creating stories about love, healing, and second chances.